Hey guys, here we go again. We are starting now, Unit 10. Notice we skipped over 9. We're just bouncing around because of our current situation, just trying to get the things that I think are most important going forward. So we skipped over Unit 9. We're going to work through some select lessons from Unit 10 and then Unit 11 to finish up the year. Just want to say that your next packet is supposed to be available for pickup on April the 28th, which is let's see, today's the 19th, so it's about 10 days out, 9 days out from now. You should be able to pick those up, so you can be looking for that. Then, to my knowledge, that'll be the last packet that you'll have this year. So there's this one you're finishing up, and then one more, and then that'll be all of it. For me. So anyway, to get started with circles, this first lesson, 10.1, should feel like review, a good bit of it, because you did this in middle school. Okay, this is a very much middle school lesson, but it's good to review it because you learn it in middle school, but you kind of use this sort of throughout math classes, different math classes as you go through school. So anyway, we're going to look at two formulas. First, area of a circle. We always use the formula pi r squared. Okay, and area, remember, is the amount of space that the circle covers. Okay, so think about like tile on a floor. How much tile you would need to cover a floor, or how much paint you would need to cover a wall, things like this. This is area. Okay. Circumference is the distance around a circle, and we have really just one formula, but sometimes it's written in two different forms. You can have C equals pi times d, or C equals 2 pi r. So the reason I said they're kind of the same formula is if you double the radius, you have the diameter. The diameter is the radius times 2. So they're sort of the same formula. We just see them written in two different forms a good bit of the time, so I wanted to show you both. Alright, so I've got some select problems we're just going to run through here. This shouldn't take too much time because, like I said, this is going to feel like it's review for you. So we're just going to do a few off the front page, and then we'll flip it over to the next one. So number 1 is an area problem. It says find the area of the circles 1 through 4 and the circumference of 5, 6, 7, and 8. So let's start by doing 1 and 2, then we're going to jump down and do 7 and 8. Alright, so, excuse me, not 7 and 8, 5 and 8. Okay, anyway, number 1 is an area problem, so I'm going to go ahead and write the formula. I think it's always a good idea to write the formula first. It'll help you memorize those, so that's a good thing to do at the beginning. Here I'm given my radius is 12, so I can go ahead and substitute that in. So I get pi times 12 squared. Okay, 12 squared. So based on the order of operations, I need to multiply or use the exponent. So 12 times itself would be 144. So I have the area is 144 pi, okay, which is an exact answer because we have not rounded it off or rounded anything for pi. But we also need to get an approximation. So this is called in terms of pi. So we say it's 144 pi meters squared because this is area, but then I can also approximate. So I'm going to use 3.14 for pi. Okay, so pi is approximately 3.14. Now, some of your calculators have a pi button. If you use the pi button, you're going to get a different answer. If you use 3.14, you'll get sort of an estimated answer, and the pi button will be more exact because you're using more digits beyond the decimal, but that's not really a big worry. So I'm just simply in my calculator going to type in 144 times 3.14, and I get 452.16. So this is approximately, that's why I have the little squiggles, that means approximately 452.16 meters squared. So two different forms of the same answer. All right. For the second one, I noticed that this measurement is all the way across the circle. It goes through the center all the way through, touching both sides. So this is actually a diameter. So for my area problem, since my formula only has radius, I don't have a formula with diameter, just radius formula. I'm going to half that. I need to half it because radius is half of diameter. So this would be pi times 9. 9's half of 18, 9 squared. So the answer in terms of pi would be 9 squared is 81. So 81 pi inches squared. Then to get an approximation without the pi in there, I'm going to plug in 3.14. So 81 times 3.14. And I got is approximately 254.34 inches squared. Okay. So there's just a little refresher on how to use those formulas. Let's jump down to number 5. So remember the directions set for 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're going to do the circumference. So I have two options. If you look back up at the top, two options for formulas for circumference. Number 5 gives me radius, which is from the center to one side of the circle halfway across. So I'm going to use the radius, the formula with radius in it. So C equals 2 pi r. I'll plug in 7. So 2 times pi times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. So I get 14 pi millimeters. Now this is not millimeters squared. That's only for area because area is a 2D measurement and circumference is one-dimensional, a 1D measurement. So it's just 14 pi millimeters squared. But I also want an answer that's without pi. So I'm going to type in 14 times 3.14 and I get approximately 43.96 millimeters is the circumference or the distance around that circle. Okay. Then we'll do number 7. Now number 7 gives me diameter. So C equals pi d. I'm going to use the formula with diameter in it. So C equals, now this one's really easy to get the first part of the answer. It's just 58 pi because the diameter is 58. And then to get the approximation, I'll type in my calculator 58 times 3.14 and I got 182.12 yards. Okay, so the first 4 problems are just pretty straightforward. Nothing that you would not have seen in a 7th grade math class or 8th grade math class. I know it's been a while, so I'm not saying that to belittle you or anything like that. I'm just saying you should have seen that, and I think you probably did. Maybe you just forgot. You should have seen that in a middle school math class. Okay, now when we get down to number 9, things change a little bit. We sort of have to work backwards. So I'm going to do number 9 and then we'll jump to the next page and do a couple. On number 9 it says find the diameter. Okay, so far we've been told to either find the area or find the circumference. Now I'm being asked to find the diameter. And notice that we're given the circumference. So my circumference formula that involves diameter looks like this. C equals pi d. This time though, I'm given circumference. So I'm going to write that down. Plug it in instead of C because I know the circumference. Pi is a constant. It doesn't change here. And we don't know what d is. D is the unknown. So now I'm just going to solve the equation for d. I want to isolate the variable d, so I'm going to divide both sides by pi. Okay, so 65.97 divided by 3.14. I got approximately 21. Now, if you use the pi button here, I think you're going to get exactly 21. But I got that the diameter is approximately 21. And these are meters. We'll stick a little m in there. Okay, but notice we're just working backwards because we're given circumference, or like in the next problem, we're given area, and we're working to find either the diameter or the radius. so let's see. Next one. Let's do number 13 together. Okay. So it says find the diameter of a circle, and we're given the area 615.75. So since I'm given the area, I'm going to start with the area formula, A equals pi r squared. Okay, and I have 615.75 to plug in for area equals pi r squared. So let's divide both sides by pi. I want to isolate for r. So if I do that, these cancel out. 615.75 divided by 3.14. Okay, and I got about 196. Okay, now if you're using the pi button, which my calculator doesn't have one, you're going to get exactly 196. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just write that down because I think that'll make this problem a little easier. Go ahead and round it to 196. Okay, now to get r here, the last step is to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 196 is in fact 14, exactly 14. So I get r is 14. Okay, but in this problem I was asked to find diameter. So now that I have 14 for the radius, I'm going to double that, and I get that the diameter is 28. Okay, so similar to the other problem, one extra step there at the end, but essentially you're just working backwards to solve these. Okay, two more. Let's look at number 15. So 15, find the area of a circle with a circumference of 26 pi feet. Okay, so let's start, because I'm given circumference, let's start with the circumference formula. And I'm going to use this one because it has an r in it. And in a minute, I'm going to also have to use the area formula, and it also includes r and not d. So I want to use the one with radius because that'll just be helpful down the road. Okay, so here I'm given that the circumference is 26 pi. So instead of circumference, or c, I'm going to plug in 26 pi. I'll bring the rest of this down. Now, I can divide both sides of this by 2 and pi. The 2's cancel out, the pi's cancel out over here, the pi's cancel out, and 26 divided by 2 is 13. So I get that the radius is 13. Okay. Now, I was asked to find the area, so now that I have the radius, I can just use my area formula. And instead of r, I'll plug in 13. So I have 13 squared is 169. So 169 pi, that's the answer in terms of pi. These are feet. Feet squared, because it's an area problem. Okay, and then the approximation, I would type in 169 times 3.14. I get approximately 530.67 feet squared. So you can actually use information of one formula to work through the other one. Okay, let's look at number 17, and we'll finish this video up. Find the circumference of a circle when the area is 113.1. Okay, so I'm going to start, since I'm given the area, I'm going to start with A equals pi r squared, and I'm going to plug in, let's see, 113.1 for the area, so A is substituted, and then I get pi r squared. Okay, again, I'm going to divide both sides by pi. If your calculator has a pi button on it, I want you to use that. If it doesn't, you can see 113.1 divided by 3.14 gets you really close to 36. If you divide by actual pi, it is exactly 36. So I'm just gonna use 36 That'll make this easier because I know that my next step is the square root of both sides. And when I do that, I get r is 6. Okay, so I was able to find the radius, but I'm supposed to be finding the circumference. So now that I have radius, I'm going to use c equals 2 pi r, where r is 6. 2 times 6 is 12, so the circumference is 12 pi inches. And if I multiply 12 times 3.14, I get 37, so approximately 37.68 inches. Okay, so like I said, a little bit of review, maybe a little new stuff there at the end, bouncing back and forth between the formulas. I left you plenty of problems to practice on. Let me know if you have any questions. You can take a picture of your work and send it in, and I'll try to help you if you're having trouble.